Hi, I'm glad you could join me in my study. Isaiah chapter 53 is one of the most important Old Testament texts for understanding the doctrine of the atonement. The suffering servant of the Lord in Isaiah 53 suffers vicariously on behalf of the people of Israel. And New Testament authors interpreted Jesus' death in terms of the servant of the Lord in Isaiah 53. For example, in 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 24, we read, "He himself bore our sins in his body on the tree, that we might die to sin and live to righteousness. By his wounds you have been healed." Virtually a quotation from Isaiah 53. Now, in Isaiah 53, we have the idea of vicarious suffering or substitution. And the concept of substitution is extremely important. A substitute does something in the place of or instead of another person. For example, a great example of substitution is a pinch hitter in the American game of baseball. The pinch hitter comes in the place of the regular hitter and hits instead of him. But in no way does he represent the hitter. He substitutes for him, but he doesn't represent him. If he gets a hit, it doesn't help the average of the person he's replaced. If he strikes out, it doesn't hurt his average. He is independent of the person that he substitutes for. In contrast to the idea of substitution is the idea of being a representative of someone. This is someone who acts on behalf of or speaks for another person, but doesn't necessarily substitute for him. For example, the baseball player will have an agent who will be his representative in negotiating his contract and salary. The agent doesn't substitute for the player in the way that a pinch hitter does, but he represents him. And these two concepts of substitution and representation, though distinct, are extremely important for understanding Jesus' death on our behalf. He is our substitute, as Isaiah 53 says, suffering vicariously in our place. But then, as Paul indicates, Christ is also the second Adam. As Adam represented all men before God, so Christ represents all men before God. He is our representative who acts on behalf of us before God. So in the atonement, we have this very interesting blend of substitution and representation that is important to keep clear and to understand accurately.